Midwest Whitetail is brought to you by Realtree, Hoyt, Muddy Outdoors, Fuse Accessories, Frigid Forage, Rocket Arrowheads, Scott Archery, Night and Hail Game Calls, Camden Outdoors, and Nikon.
Thanks for joining us today on Midwest Whitetail. Jason Vickerman's in the field doing some projects. We're going to run out there and join him.
All right. Well, I just got done tilling this, roughly 2 acres behind me here. It used to be pasture. I sprayed it with Roundup here a couple weeks ago. I come in here and fertilize it. I put down a fair amount of urea, and I also added a couple 100 pounds per acre of pelletized lime just to kind of help the pH. And now I'm going to get ready to use this old case drill to plant these sugar beets from Frigid Forage. It's the first time I planted them, so I'm a rookie here. It says plant to 8 to 10 pounds per acre, and I've got roughly 17 pounds, so we're going to put the whole thing in and see what happens. As you'll see here in a little bit, the seed's really small, so we're going to use the small seed box on this drill and see what we get. But kind of excited. It's the first time with sugar beets, and one of the bonuses is I'm going to be done with my food plot here, and it's only the 17th of May, so let's load up the drill and get planting.
Sugar beets aren't a real common food plot, so let's take a look here in the Quality Food Plots book and learn some more about sugar beets. Okay, I've highlighted a couple of spots here, and the one that I thought was most interesting, I'm just going to read you a quick paragraph here. It says that for deer, beets make a great attractant food plot. They can have a sugar content of 20% dry matter, so 20% of the dried down root is sugar, and a protein content of 10%. And they can produce up to 20 tons of beets per acre. 20 tons of beets per acre. Sugar beets are appropriate forage for the critical winter stress period. They have the highest digestibility of 95% of any forage. So that sounds pretty encouraging. Here's another quick paragraph that isn't quite as encouraging. Sugar beets are a very finicky crop. They prefer a medium to heavy loam soil and a steady supply of moisture, especially in the late summer and early fall. This is reversed during their young growth stage when they are susceptible to drowning. Sugar beet seedlings cannot compete with weeds, and repeated applications of herbicides may be necessary until full canopy enclosure. So we're going to find out how the sugar beets do for Jason. It's going to be a neat experiment. Frigid Forage has got sugar beets obviously for sale, and we just have never had a chance to experiment with them here in Iowa, so we're going to keep an eye over Jason's shoulder and see how this turns out.
All right, well, we're down to the most important part, I think, in my food plot. Frigid Forage has come out with some plot screen, and it's a blend of grain and forage sorghums. And Brock and I actually used some of this 3 or 4 years ago around the food plot at the Tower of Power, and it wasn't this mix, it was just plain Egyptian wheat, which this blend is made up of 33% of that. And that stuff grew 12 to 15 feet tall. And it did a wonderful job on screening off that plot, and that's what I'm hoping I get to accomplish here. You can't really see it from right here because we're kind of in a nice little secluded area, but we'll give you a pan from up at the top of the plot up there, and it's wide open. I mean, you can see a 3/4 of a mile. Every time a vehicle drives by and there's a deer out in the plot, the deer just take off. So what I'm hoping happens is this stuff grows up nice and tall, and it kind of gives it some screening, and the deer will feel a lot more comfortable being out in the daylight. So we'll see what happens. All we can do is try. I fertilized it the same that I did with the sugar beets. Gave it a lot of nitrogen because this stuff is pretty nitrogen dependent. So we'll see what happens. Seed size is pretty much just a little bit bigger than your typical clover or turnip. I'm going to use my drill again with it, and this 8.5 pounds should go a long ways drilling it in. So that's what we're hoping for. And one of the other advantages, if I have enough, I'm going to come back around. I've got a tree stand right over here on the other side of this timber, and I want to give myself a nice screen to be able to just jet right on out of there without the deer knowing it. So we'll see what happens. All right, well I'm overlooking my my favorite trail cam location on this farm. This is where I get all the pictures of Cookie, the devil buck, the splits. I mean, all the bucks I've had for the last couple of years have all come from right here. And it always started with this rackback product. And Frigid Forage started actually marketing this year, and I've been using it for the last 3 years. And it's a really good liquid mineral, and I've had a lot of luck and a lot of success with it. So we're starting to hunt for Cookie early this year. Normally I wait till about June to really start putting my cameras out, but I'm hitting it early, and it's May 17th, and I'm hoping I can catch Cookie in the act and confirm that he's alive. I've got one of his sheds, but I haven't really seen him for quite a while, so that's we're gonna pour this out right here and get out of here. As you can see, it's kind of a green liquid. It's got some other enzymes in it that help the digestive system, and it gives them what they need. So that's all that's to it. What's nice about this location is it's right next to a pond. They're coming up here anyway, and it's right on the pond dam, so it's just a natural travel corridor. So it's a good camera location anyway, and this definitely kind of enhances it. So check back, and hopefully we'll show you some pictures of Cookie here before too long.
One of the keys to our strategy on this farm are the small clover plots that are scattered around. And we've got a lot of food plots here. I mean, it's really important to me to have a place where I can hunt the deer in the evenings and ways to keep the deer located on this property so I can hunt them in the bedding areas in the mornings nearby. But these clover plots are especially near and dear to my heart because the bigger plots, the bean plots and the corn plots, they're often, so big, being multiple acres, that you can't hunt them very effectively with a bow. Whereas these clover plots are generally anywhere from a half acre to an acre, and that's it. So they're small. They're not really big feeding plots. They're more places where the deer stage and then they move on, and they're awesome places to catch a buck at close range with bow. So we take great care of these things. And what I did here in the past couple of weeks is get out there and take a good look at my clover plots and do the kind of maintenance that's necessary to get those things into prime shape for this fall. One thing I like about clover is it's not a real high maintenance food plot. Typically there's not a whole lot you need to do to them, but you do need to do a few things. And one of them is you need to get the soil fertility right. Clover and alfalfa even more so, are very fertility sensitive. They do a lot better, not just a little bit better, but a lot better when you get the fertility right. So take a soil sample and find out where you're at. And when you do that, you have to write down the crop that you're going to plant. So when the analysis comes back, it automatically gives you the right fertilizer settings for the clover in this case. So you're going to get some numbers. For example, on the clover plots, I put on a 16, 56, 90. What that means is 16 units of nitrogen, 56 units of potassium, is that right? No, phosphorus, and 90 units of potassium. So those are the primary ingredients of fertilizer. So when you hear somebody talk about triple 19 or triple 13 or whatever it is, what they're talking about are NPK. They're the number of units of each of those. Anyway, that's what we put on to these plots, and we put it on pretty heavy. I'm not sure exactly the number of pounds per acre that we put on of our mix. That came from the co-op. They made a suggestion, and we just had the cart set to that amount. So just go by their recommendation. If you're not using a co-op, just put on, as much of the P and K as what you can get into a mixture. And you're not going to get a big dose of P and K from the lawn fertilizer mixes. They're going to be like a triple 19. So you're going to have to go to a co-op basically to get the kinds of fertilizers that you need for clover. So those were the past projects here. Also, we sprayed a grass selective herbicide on the clover. And again, this is the second year of the rotation, and now they should be able to kind of fend for themselves because the clover will come in real thick and crowd out the competition. But we need to give it that one little quick last release, and by doing that, we just go in and we spray a herbicide that's designed to kill only the grasses and not the broadleaves. And that does a good job. It really kills out all the grasses, gets the clover, a nice non-competitive environment, and it flourishes, and you usually don't have to mess with it for a couple more years other than mowing. Otherwise, sometime around the end of June typically is when I mow. I just do one mowing a year. Some people like to mow numerous times and cut it off about 6 inches high. I'll mow once and cut it off just a couple of inches high. You know, quick mowing will clean up most of the broadleaves. It's that grass competition that normally requires herbicide here in the Midwest. So anyway, take care of your clover. This is the time to start looking at that stuff. And we love our food plots. I mean, there's nothing on this farm that's more important to us than having really prime food plots, because we know that we can find and kill deer on these spots. So we really spend a lot of time making sure that those are as attractive and good as we possibly can. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully you learned a few things from our show this week. And we're going to be back again next week for the next episode of Midwest Whitetail. And remember to always dream big. True. You need to look in first.
You should. I was doing that because I figured it would be funny if you put that on the show. Do it. It'd be funny.
Funny to you.